Welcome in everybody to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is BPL. It's time to look at the props for the Super Bowl, and of course, it's my boys, the Welsh and the Undertaker, Andrew Erickson, helping me out today, getting the 5 best props from each of these guys so you can invest wisely. And speaking of investing wisely, make sure you download the Betting Pros app, sync your sportsbooks for free, use the tools to make you the best bettor that could possibly live on this planet. And while you're at it, you might as well take a little survey too, because we know you love the channel. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us here on YouTube. Subscribe, of course, to the channel. Ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications. And if you're a fan of the show, I know you are, go over and take the Betting Pros survey right now. bettingpros.com/survey. Share your feedback. Help us improve. Tell us what you like, what you want more of, what you want less of. And who knows, you might just get what you want in 2025 because we are the show of the people here at Betting Pros. So go to bettingpros.com/survey and have your voice heard on the podcast today. Gentlemen, we're finally here. We're ready for the props. Welsh, let's start with you. And of course, let's start with Saquon Barkley, the man who has taken the Eagles on his back and lifted them potentially backwards too, because he did that flip somewhere at a point in time of the year, all the way to the Super Bowl. So Saquon, what do you want to start with for him for your first prop?
You want to do everything. You just want to go in on everything, and everything is priced in. It's inflated to the tippy top. I will tell you, I still like it, even though it's really big, is the rushing yard prop. It's 111, which is crazy. We've seen it up to like 130 this season. You love the touchdown calls. Everything is juiced up. So, finding any like true edges with Saquon Barkley, it's probably a little bit few and far between, but this is it. Final game of the season, and playing on the studs definitely is something we want to go. We're going to get cute in some spots, but sometimes we just got to go in, and we're going in on Saquon Barkley, not on the yards, but we are going to play the rushing attempts. Rushing attempts currently set at 21.5. The juice has moved a little bit. The yards have not. The implied rushing yards right now are 111, projections right around that 108, 109 marker. But he's hit this 11 times this season. He's gone over those 22 attempts in 4 of his last 5 games. And when you're coming back down to the basics of what this specific team needs to do to win, their biggest deficit is the passing game. They're going to run a lot early on to set up that play action for later. But if they're going to win this game, it's going to be on the legs, the back, the quads of Saquon Barkley. And we know they're not afraid. He's had 25 plus carries in 2 of the 3 playoff games, or 2 of his last 3 games in general. So he is going to get the rock all day long. 21.5, a little bit high, of course, but it's a number that I like. It kind of, both sides you could take. The yards might save you from rushing attempts going down if he breaks a big one, but we've also seen a couple instances where he has hit that 22 marker and not got to over 111 yards. So I'm going to take the rushing attempts because I believe it is all Saquon Barkley all game long.
What I love about you, Andrew Erickson, is you always look outside the box. And prop number 1 is not a big name. It's not a Kelsey. It's not a Mahomes. It's not a Saquon Barkley. Who is it?
Samaje Perine. He's going to go over 7.5 receiving yards because this is the Iceman. This is the guy that puts the other team on ice, like we saw in the AFC Championship game. Who locked up the lead, the win for the Chiefs? Wasn't Mahomes. It wasn't Kelsey. It was Samaje Perine, catching a pass outside the backfield on the very last play that the Chiefs ran before the kneel down. So Perine, yes, he is very seldomly used in the Chiefs offense, but he knows exactly what his role is, and he comes in critical situations to catch passes. He's at least 7.5 receiving yards in 6 of his last 7 games played, 14 of the last 15 games played this season. So yes, it is scary that he may only play like 1 or 2 plays on offense, but on those specific plays, he's out there to catch passes. And so I like Perine going over. Again, it can happen at any point during the game. 2-minute drill. He's on the field in third downs and obvious passing situations. He's not someone that the Eagles necessarily are. Oh, we got a game plan to stop Samaje Perine. Just the sample size is too much for me to fade away a number. Yes, it seems like because he's not a super involved player, I could see this bet not hitting. But at the same time, just look at the Betting Pros prop bet cheat sheet. It's all green for Samaje Perine when it comes to this specific bet. So I'm not going to overthink it. If it beats me, it beats me. But I think the process here is sound. So I'm going to take the over Samaje Perine, 7.5 receiving yards.
All right, next one on our list, number 2 for the boys here. Let's go back to the big names. Patrick Mahomes. I'm in on the rushing stuff when it comes to Mahomes, but you're looking at the passing. What do you like, Welsh?
I love the pass attempts. 36.5 on the pass attempts for Patrick Mahomes. Eagles so far have given up 44 pass attempts, at least, in both of their playoff games. Final 6 regular season games, Patrick Mahomes went over in this. So we've seen in the playoffs, he's run a bit more, and he hasn't hit this in the playoffs. But throughout the end of the regular season, he was slinging the ball. So again, back to that logic of where do I think the Eagles have the edge or the potential lean on for winning the game? I think it is going to be on Saquon Barkley. On the inverse, where is that going to be with the Chiefs? It's going to be Patrick Mahomes. Their run game for the Chiefs is, I don't know what's worse. We've talked about this before, like the Eagles passing game or the Chiefs running game, but I don't think they're going to have a big, crazy established run game. Obviously, the secondary is good, and that's why I'm not playing completions on this. I'm playing pass attempts. If you believe the Eagles are going to have any leads, then this is going to continue the passing side. If the Eagles have the lead at the end of the game, Chiefs get the ball back and Patrick Mahomes does his magic, pass attempts across the board. So 36.5, something he did a ton in the regular season. I think he'll move a little bit away from him having, 9-10 carries. It's actually implied at 5.5 that he's going to get into a heavy passing side. So 36.5 on the pass attempts, probably my number one of even between, we started with Saquon Barkley, but this is probably my favorite one.
All right, back to you, Andrew Erickson, number 2 on your list. We know all year long these Kansas City Chiefs have struggled with tight ends, and this feels like a very chalky investment to go with Dallas Goedert, but is it the correct one?
I'm going to take the under on Dallas Goedert, not on his receiving yards, which has been the prop that most people have been betting the last couple of weeks. But I'm taking the under on the receptions, 4.5 receptions. You still get at plus money odds. So despite the fact that Goddard's been on this absolute tear over the last month, he's been under 4.5 catches in 5 of his last 6 games. And when he's played alongside a healthy A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, he's gone under in all the games except for when they've played the Washington Commanders. So a lot of his boosted numbers are coming against the very same opponent who they are not playing in this matchup. Yes, I understand the Chiefs have been bad against tight ends, but that's because of yardage, not necessarily reception. So historically speaking, Goddard's nowhere near this number. He's under 4.5 catches, 9 of his last 14 games when A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are both healthy in the lineup. It's funny. If you combine the over on his receiving yards with the under on his receptions, you get plus 750 odds. He's done that in 50% of his games the last month, and you're getting plus 750. So if you really want to middle it in terms of, yes, I think that he's going to get his yardage on a couple passes, which is kind of what he's done most of the last month or so, then that's an interesting way to approach this prop. But I like the under on the receptions. I still think that A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are kind of being underrated in how much they're going to be involved against this Chiefs team. Likes to play a lot of man coverage, and both those guys are alphas on the outside, and I think that they're going to get opportunities to make plays on the sideline. So I prefer some of these Eagles receivers compared to Dallas Goedert.
50% at plus 700, you say? That's very interesting. That's better odds than that coin flip. I'm just putting that out there for everybody. All right, let's get back to you, Welsh. Give me another prop you're excited about betting for the Super Bowl this Sunday.
All right. Kryptonite sometimes is the allure of DeAndre Hopkins in the offense. He dominates and then he disappears. And we definitely have seen less of DeAndre Hopkins since Marquis Brown has gotten there. But there's also been a lot of Super Bowl focus. He gets to be in this spot, and we still do see targets out of him. So I will tell you, his yards are very tempting. It's like 12, and you can get massive plus money at 25. But we haven't seen a big glut of catches. So where we're going with this one is DeAndre Hopkins' longest reception, 10.5 over. 7 of his last 10 games, he has hit this longest reception. He has only had 1 catch during the playoffs, which was last week. And guess what? 11. You've got some projections that have put him right in the 20 marker. I do believe he will be involved in this offense. And implied, if he can get 1 catch, he's a guy that they're going to throw the ball to on the outside. I need 11 yards. He got that in just 1 catch last week. He's done it a ton during the regular season. They have limited him out, but I think some of the older guys, Kelsey, Hopkins, are going to get a little bit more involved. So we are going longest reception for a wide receiver in the Chiefs offense at just 10.5. Marquis Brown, by the way, is like 18.5. So it's just a really low total because he has had a low target share. I think you will see a little bit more involvement. Obviously, the corners are going to be on a big, heavy lockdown on guys like Xavier Worthy, probably even with Marquis Brown. So this could open up some opportunities for Hopkins, and I just need an 11-yard catch from DeAndre.
Erickson, there's a wide receiver on the Eagles side that's getting a lot of buzz in this game. The longer the week drags on, it's DeVonta Smith. So is that somebody you are investing in? And if so, how this weekend?
I love DeVonta Smith. Like, he is the guy that I'm honing in on as that Eagles playmaker that could potentially put Philadelphia over the top. If they win this game, I think that DeVonta Smith is going to play a big role because he has owned the Chiefs. 3 games against the Chiefs, 99 yards, 100 yards, 122 yards. So he has more games of 99 yards against the Chiefs than any other team in his NFL career. So he's taking advantage of the Steve Spagnuolo defense, and I think that's going to continue. Smith, when you look at the Eagles in games where they've been underdogs, 70 plus receiving yards in his last 5 games when the Eagles have been underdogs, and 79 or more in the 2 games this season where the Eagles have underdogs and Smith has been in the lineup. So his prop open is at 49.5, 50.5 receiving yards at -110. So that's the starter prop. But I think that you can, again, following what Welsh did 2 weeks ago on the conference championship, looking at Xavier Worthy, just following the trends, like Worthy's gone over 70. That's where I'm going to ladder it up to. So I feel confident going to DeVonta Smith, laddering up to 70 plus receiving yards at +200. Again, he's owned the Chiefs in a specific matchup, specifically when he's been operating on the outside. The projections have him north of 54 receiving yards. And like I said, success outside of the numbers against the Chiefs, all 3 games against them. So I really like DeVonta Smith a ton in this matchup. So I'm going to be betting his opening receiving line and laddering up to 70 plus yards.
Now remember, all the bets here, everything out there for props, you can always find on the prop bet cheat sheet. Go to bettingpros.com/props today, or just check out the prop bet cheat sheet on the Betting Pros app right now. You can compare all the different lines with all the projections and get the best value you possibly can find on every over, every under, everything that moves in the prop world. Betting Pros can help you. So you get tailored recommendations, track your winning trends, and you can filter everything by the odds, bet type, you name it, we can do it here. So use the prop bet cheat sheet along with all the other tools over on Betting Pros right now. Download the app. All right, let's get to a wide receiver who is missed most of the season here for the Kansas City Chiefs, Welsh, but could make an impact on Sunday. Let's talk Hollywood Brown.
So I'm going to tell you, in the prediction show we did earlier this week, Erickson had it's a great bet. It's kind of a not even like a not necessarily novelty bet, but it was a bet that we both had honed in on together. And that bet was Marquis Brown getting a catch on the first drive for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's something that you can do. Also, you can get like the very overall first catch. And I kind of thought that was going to be on the show. So I'd be curious why it didn't make the show here, because it is such a great fun bet, because we've seen a lot of Marquis Brown on the first drive. That's actually been like where some of that money is made. But this stood out to me, and first quarter bets maybe sometimes trend for baseball people, like no run first inning type of things. Like, you know, it looks very trendy and fun, but it's like a weird side. But you can get Hollywood Brown in the first quarter receiving yards to just be over 4.5. So as Erickson had said on that show, we've seen Marquis Brown be targeted on like, what was it, like 3 of the last 4 games on the very first drive. His longest reception, quite a bit higher, as talked about. That longest reception over around like 18. I mean, just a few more yards we're looking at. Just a couple. 5 yards we need on that first quarter. Not even the first drive. We're playing first quarter. So Marquis Brown, Hollywood, I'm saying Marquis, that's his name. Hollywood Brown getting some of that involvement in the first quarter is already in play. Longest catches, way over this. We need 5 yards from Hollywood Brown in the first quarter. Obviously, there's a lot of target share going around here, but I really like this one. I'm playing 5 yards in the first quarter for Hollywood Brown.
I want to give you a fun nickname like Hollywood. We got to work on that.
That actually was like literally, it was Hollywood. Bogman used to call me Hollywood when I was younger, because I had like, you know, like people that have lots of friend groups. I had lots of different friend groups, so phone was always blowing up. But it's a little pretentious, a little Hollywood. Like, give me
my agent. Hold on.
I don't have any friends anymore. I don't have any friends anymore, so I can't be Hollywood. I'm more like Burbank.
All right.
How many phones do you own? How many phones do you own?
I have one now, but before it was like beeper and like a couple phones and stuff. And
you had the beeper.
Somebody's paging me. Hold on.
Yeah, I never had the pager. Never went that route.
I'm convinced those things are not real. Like,
they're real. They're real.
I see them in old TV and old movies. I'm like, what is that thing?
It was a thing. It was a thing.
It's like a fax machine.
Well, fax machine's very real, but the beepers were real. But you know, It was a different time. It was a simpler time. There you go. Somebody
It was a
beeped you.
simpler
You
time.
went to the phone.
Simpler
I gotta
time
find
when
a
you
phone.
had 6 phones or a beeper and you had to go to a payphone and put in a quarter and maybe call somebody just to
Yeah,
get
but
an
it didn't
answer back.
dominate your
It was
life. You're
simpler
like,
times.
well, I'll get back to this person, unless you got the 911. That and
Oh, the
in which
pager?
case,
Oh,
yeah,
that
someone
was
would
big
page
time.
you and with the number and say 911. Like that means call me immediately. There's a whole code system here. You know how people nowadays, like you had to teach me a couple years ago, Erickson, that the 3 was just an E that people are using now in text and stuff like that. Same thing. See, we're helping each other understand the world a little bit better here in Betting Pros. Next up here, let's go Jalen Hurts. It took us a while to get to Mr. Hurts. Erickson, what do you have lined up for the people for this one?
Yeah, I'm stealing this from Mike Mayer, who put it into the analysts. We're constructing a Super Bowl props article that's going to come out later on the site, so make sure you check it out. But Jalen Hurts is going to go over 199.5 passing yards. This is at -145. I believe this one is on ESPN Bet. I think other books have it closer to 212.5 passing yards. But I've listened to a lot of content this week, and I'm ready to embrace Jalen Hurts throwing the ball a little bit more in this matchup. I just think that when we see a team in an opportunity where they may be asked to play a little bit differently, and maybe a game where they're potentially trailing, like they're underdogs. So one would think, okay, maybe they need to dial up the pass game a little bit more. So again, just so many talented playmakers on the Eagles side of the ball between Goddard, DeVonta Smith, and AJ Brown. Greatest thing about the prop bet cheat sheet that I absolutely love using is the filter. And you can filter in players that were available in those games. So when Hurts has actually had all 3 of those top weapons, he's actually hit the over 4 out of 7 times. So he's hitting it more often than not when Goddard, AJ Brown, and DeVonta Smith are in the lineup. He hit the over last week in the playoff game in the NFC Championship game against the Commanders. So yeah, I'm buying it here. Again, I understand why the number's so low because this team has operated with Saquon Barkley and play defense. But if there's ever going to be a game where they have to kind of go off script a little bit, it would be against the Kansas City Chiefs because the Chiefs know that they win by running the ball and playing defense. So I think if the Eagles want to win, they need to do something a little bit different, get these receivers more involved. And like we said, I like DeVonta Smith a lot. So if Smith is going to have a big game, I think Hurts will be along for the ride. So 199.5 passing yards, low bar to pass. I will take the over.
Okay. Welsh, give me your last one before we go to the touchdown calls for Super Bowl Sunday.
We're going to parlay up a little bit, but we're not going to get crazy parlay. We're actually going to parlay some pared down receptions. So we're doing a reception prop parlay here, and we're putting Xavier Worthy and the aforementioned DeVonta Smith together. Worthy at 5 receptions, DeVonta Smith at 4 receptions, and we're getting just a little over plus money on those. They are, I think it's 5.5 on Worthy and 4.5 on DeVonta Smith. There's some heavy juice, or obviously it's implied to 5 for Xavier Worthy, but Worthy has hit 5 receptions in 7 straight games, if you're not counting that final game of the regular season. He has been I talked about it on the show when I did the ladder on Xavier Worthy, that he was one of the number 1 first read guys. You know, he was getting design plays, target share, like he has been the guy. So I'm playing him at 5 receptions. And then DeVonta Smith, I mean, you've already gotten kind of the layout from Erickson about how he can be involved and he can be the difference maker. He's been the 4 reception monster throughout the playoffs. I believe it's 4-4-4. So I'm just paring it down. If you want to get better odds, you can go and do this as a 5 reception parlay. But I have major questions just at all times about how that team is going to end up passing the ball, where it goes. Obviously, can AJ Brown get more involved? So I just pared it down to 4. So 4 receptions for Smith paired with Xavier Worthy's 5 receptions, a little over plus money for our final reception parlay of the season. It's sad. It's still kind of sad to think about. This is it. That was the final bet of the year.
Well, no, it's the final bet of this season. The NFL year in 2025 is still glorious and still very much upon us. And the NFL draft is right around the corner. We're going to be betting the hell out of that too. So don't worry. There's plenty of ways.
That was a very December 31st. I'll see you
Don't
next
cry,
year.
Hollywood. Don't cry, Hollywood. You're going to have a happy ending at the end of the day. Erickson, give me your last prop bet that you're into for Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, only if Hollywood catches a pass on the first drive will we be happy. I'm buying into this. I love all the, like Welsh said, very much into all the Marquis Brown getting involved on the first drive, first target, first reception, whatever. The way I like playing it additionally, though, is so both teams to complete their first passing attempt is -110. Look at the last 4 Chiefs Super Bowls. Those quarterbacks 7-1 in completing their first pass attempt. What have they been doing all week? It's been 2 weeks. Scripted plays. They know what they're doing when they get the ball. Unless there's like a turnover and the first possession is in the red zone for some reason, then they already know what they're doing with the first plays. They know who's getting the scripted ball. We know that it's going to Marquis Brown. We know that with the Chiefs. Just matter, can the guy squeeze the football? So I think that this one is going to cash. I think that given all the amount of time that they get to prepare, I think this one's going to hit. So -110, both teams complete their first pass attempt. And it's a quick sweat. You'll know in the first quarter, first 2 drives, whether it hits or not. So I'm ready for my mentions early on in Super Bowl.
There you go.
LIX.
He does it for the mentions, folks. That's what he does it for. All right. Remember, when you're betting touchdowns, you go to bettingpros.com/touchdown and use the touchdown score report. Our touchdown score report compares anytime touchdown stats to prop bet odds and projections to help identify the best anytime touchdown bets you can make. So go to bettingpros.com/touchdown for the latest touchdown prop analysis today. I'm going to keep this simple. The juice is too much on Saquon Barkley touchdowns. So Saquon Barkley first touchdown is probably the best way to go. Jalen Hurts, that's the lock. That's the one you go all in on. I would also say Jalen Hurts' first time touchdown is the way that I would like to juice that a little bit more. But I'm going Patrick Mahomes +400. I think he's going to be out in space. I think those corners are really good. The wide receivers are really mid. And the pressure up the middle is also going to be really tough to deal with. And Mahomes is going to be flush from that pocket quite a bit. You can't guard everybody. And Mahomes has shown you he is capable of taking that ball in his hands, especially in the last Super Bowl and the last playoff game we saw too. So give me Patty Mahomes +400 to get in the end zone. Welsh, give me some names that find pay dirt on Sunday.
One thing we didn't talk about was Travis Kelce in this game. Obviously, he's just been like in and out of like where, it's a big production and then we're taking a nap. But, the Eagles, they got lit up a bit by Zach Ertz. So there some deficiency in that middle side of the field, especially for a guy like Travis Kelce. I think he is going to get involved. His receptions are plus money at 6.5 right now. Yards are getting up there as well. How about touchdowns, though, in the biggest game? Travis Kelce +140 on an anytime touchdown. And then, man, I think there's just so many great, especially with both these teams, there's so many great first touchdown bets. I don't know how everybody plays them. I know some people will just, you pick one and go. Sometimes you can play with your implied odds. You can pick 3 different guys. Obviously, you're bringing down your winning possibility. But if you are pairing a couple first touchdowns together, Erickson's got one for you. Maybe you want to get a big dog like Saquon Barkley in there. I'm going to throw this one at you that's got to either just be a fun long shot or throw into your couple piece first touchdown bets. How about DeAndre Hopkins, who we talked about? 30-1, 3,000 +3,000 right now. One of the bigger numbers we've seen for a first touchdown. He will get some targets in the red zone. That's maybe more likely, especially when they're going to run these rotations, where they are going to bring him in is if they're inside that 15, they're inside that 20, they're going to bring him in, they're going to throw that corner, and he's going to make that ridiculous catch. So let's play it out on the first drive at +3,000. DeAndre Hopkins, any first time touchdown.
All right, Andrew Erickson, let's lock up some TDs for the Super Bowl.
Co-signing the Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. I mean, Terrell mentioned it on the Best Bets show, how -110 just seems like bonkers.
Absurd.
He scored 18 touchdowns this year.
I don't get it. I don't get why it's, I don't get it either. I'm with you.
And well, part of it, it's just because of Barkley, right? Because Barkley's impact and the way that they're running their numbers. The numbers cannot account for the tush push. Like, that's the thing. They cannot account for how good the tush. It's unstoppable. I get to bet on an unstoppable play at -110. Please sign me up. So yes, 18 touchdowns this season for Jalen Hurts. It's going to continue. He's going to score again. If someone asked me on the street, best Super Bowl bet, Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Yeah,
So that's my lock. When it comes to some of the more long shot ones, I like the Hopkins one as well as an anytime touchdown. It seems like if he's going to have a role, it's going to be, hey, let's stick him in the red zone. He's going to go up and win a 50-50 ball. Like, he's that's what separates him, I think, from the majority of the other Chiefs receivers. Obviously, he doesn't have the speed of a Worthy or Marquis Brown. So how can they best utilize him? He makes a signature catch in the end zone. So I like Hopkins, especially at 6-1. And then when it comes to first touchdown, one of my favorite markets to bet, just not even in the Super Bowl, but all season long, I like Xavier Worthy. Welsh talked about how involved he's been. He's taken on the Rashee Rice role. And to parallel it to what we've seen when the Chiefs have faced Vic Fangio defenses most recently in Miami, the guy who had the most involvement, especially early on in those games, was Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice scored the first touchdown in both of those games against Vic Fangio's defense. Who's in that role now? Xavier Worthy. And who has 10 touchdowns on the year, the most of any player not named Jalen Hurts or Saquon Barkley. Xavier Worthy. So I will take Worthy to score the first touchdown in Super Bowl LIX.
All right, there you have it, everybody. What's your favorite touchdown call? Drop them in the comments below. Who is going to find the end zone in this Super Bowl? We love hearing from all of you. Don't forget, when you drop your comments, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications, and download the BettingPros app to start betting smarter, not harder. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on for The Undertaker, Andrew Erickson, and Hollywood Chris Welsh. I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Enjoy the Super Bowl.